What's going on, guys? Grab a pen and jot this down. Today we're going to talk about the possibility of World War III, what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, and the concerns that you have to have on your macro portfolio. The primary concern today is that we are not in control. We have the splitting images of what's happening in Asia, in Europe, and the United States. Our point of view in the United States is not the same. Freedom of speech, our government, democracy, doesn't apply the same type of methodologies as it does in the European nations, and definitely not in Russia, China, and India. So when you start seeing the news, start seeing and reading what's happening in these other countries, there's a lot of macro that's taking place that we can't control. And the conflict that's happening between Russia and Ukraine is a conflict between two nations, and including NATO, the United Nations, other countries, just doesn't make sense. The other day I mentioned that the United Nations wants the United States to reduce its interest rates. That is a poor form of intervention. It doesn't help 300 million Americans, the major spenders, the major investors with the deepest capital markets. We have to fix our own economy. We can't be worried about other nations. The reason that Russia is having a conversation or a conflict with its neighboring countries is because they have security measures they have to protect themselves. The United States would do the same thing, but we're so fortunate to be living near a body of water on both sides and friendly neighbors, Mexico and Canada. We don't have to worry about those type of situations to happen on our front. So in my view, we shouldn't be interfering with these foreign nations in their own affairs. Their reasons for either friendly fire, real fire, nuclear warfare are their own. Personally, I'm talking from bias because I'm not a neighbor to any of them, so I don't know the level of conflict, or level of fear or terror that they're facing. But the reality is that if you choose to live there, you do live there, your family's from there, you work in the government or in those countries, you are really abiding by their tax code, by their democracy, by their politics. You're abiding by everything when you live in a specific country. And Ukrainians and Russians have chosen this, and they're siding. Obviously, when they don't like this, they leave, which is the right to exit. A lot of countries don't have this. The United States actually has this. And it's really important to say, all right, do I want to get involved with this? And if you do, like the United States is sending, somewhere upwards of like $10-20 billion of arms and ammunition and all other supplies to Ukraine. We have directly or indirectly gotten involved in like a proxy war. And it begins to interfere with our own democracy because at a certain point, Americans haven't chosen to be involved in a war. We have to fix our own economy first, as do these other countries. And you can see this happening firsthand in European nations because they're neighboring Russia and other Asian countries. They have an energy crisis, their pipelines are getting shut down, costs are going up, and they don't have access to funding, so they don't have the access to capital, they don't have the emergency funds because COVID and the great financial crisis or recession in 2008 really exhausted a lot of people's resources. And at this current moment in time, they've exhausted and they're really going to start struggling. It could be less than a year. They're already showing signs of struggling. In Germany, they're going to have a very cold winter given the fact that energy prices have skyrocketed. But at this point, there's not much you could do except either provide a fair playing ground so these countries can have communication, they can talk, they can negotiate, they can come to an end, a peace treaty, or just get out of the way and let them do what they want. Either way, if you're not involved with it, I recommend just not getting involved and keep focusing on your country, on your investments, on your business, and your personal life. Just be peaceful versus advocate for war.